What happens when the person running your country ends up in jail? Well, in India, that's not some far off hypothetical anymore. Today, we're going to dive into a really controversial new bill that could honestly change the very definition of power.
I mean, it really all boils down to this one simple question, right? Can you actually govern from a jail cell? Think about it. Can a prime minister or a chief minister really be making decisions that affect millions of people while they're locked up? This isn't just some legal puzzle for lawyers to figure out. It's become a real-world test of accountability.
And yeah, like I said, this is no longer just theoretical. The Indian government is actually pushing a brand new bill in its 2025 Monsoon Session that's designed to answer that very question once and for all. Okay, so let's get into it. What's actually in this bill? How is it supposed to work? Let's break down the mechanics.
So who are we talking about here? Who does this affect? Well, we are talking about the very, very top. The law would apply to basically everyone in a major leadership role, from the prime minister and their cabinet all the way down to the chief ministers who run India's states and union territories. And the trigger for this whole thing? The one thing that kicks this entire process into gear? It all comes down to a single number: 30. That's it. 30 consecutive days in custody. That's the line in the sand. Okay, so here's how it would all play out. Step 1, an official gets arrested on a pretty serious charge. We're talking something that could get you 5 or more years in prison. Step 2, the clock starts ticking. They're held in custody for 30 straight days, no breaks. And then, step 3, well, on day 31, it's game over. They either have to resign or they are automatically removed from their job. Just like that.
So you might be wondering, why such a dramatic move? I mean, this is a big deal. To really get it, we have to look at the government's side of the story, their official argument. And for them, it's all about one thing: accountability. So publicly, the government is framing this as a way to strengthen democracy. Their argument is pretty straightforward. For people to trust the system, their leaders just have to be held to a higher standard. You just can't have a situation where there's this massive crisis of faith in who's in charge. And it really all hinges on that one key word: accountability. Look, the government's position is pretty simple. They're saying if a leader is sitting in jail for a whole month on serious charges, the government itself just grinds to a halt. It's paralyzed. So for them, accountability means making sure the business of the state can keep going, even if its leader can't. But, as you can probably guess, not everyone is celebrating this. Oh, no. The opposition has come out swinging, with some really powerful objections. They're raising some serious fears that this law could just be used as a political weapon. And believe me, they are not mincing words. Critics, like leaders from the Trinamool Congress Party, they have a single powerful word for this bill: draconian. Now, that's a pretty clear signal of just how severe and dangerous they think this law really is. So what's the core of their argument against it? Well, opponents like Mahua Moitra and Asaduddin Owaisi are raising some major red flags. First, they see it as a direct threat to India's federal structure. A tool the central government could just use to target state leaders they don't like. But maybe even more fundamentally, they argue it completely flips one of the most basic principles of justice on its head: innocent until proven guilty. You're essentially punishing officials before they've even had their day in court. And this really lays out the two sides of the coin perfectly, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got the government arguing this is all about integrity and public trust, but on the other, you have the opposition saying, whoa, hold on, this is a full-blown attack on federalism and due process. You've got two fundamental and totally competing democratic principles clashing right here. So when you strip it all away, it really comes down to this fundamental clash between two pillars of any democracy. On one hand, you have the demand for accountability from leaders. And on the other, you have the absolute necessity of the presumption of innocence. This bill basically forces you to choose between the two. And that leaves us with the final and maybe the most critical question of all. Is this a necessary tool for accountability, something that's long overdue? Or is it a dangerous first step down a slippery slope towards authoritarianism? That's the debate that's going to define this bill's future. And maybe, just maybe, a big part of India's too.